This steam engine starred in the biggest film franchise in history. Millions of people recognize it instantly. It's been photographed more than locomotives that set world records, more famous than trains that hauled royalty. But here's what they don't know. This wasn't supposed to be famous at all. It's just a mid-tier freight engine from 1937 that was literally scheduled for demolition, sitting in a Welsh scrapyard, waiting to be cut up for scrap metal. So how did locomotive number 5972, Olton Hall, go from condemned to scrap to becoming one of the most photographed trains on Earth? The answer involves a scrapyard rescue, a billion-dollar film franchise, and one decision that changed everything. Let me show you. Warner Brothers has a massive problem. They're making Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, and they need a steam locomotive for the Hogwarts Express. But not just any train. They looked at dozens of engines. The Flying Scotsman, too famous, too expensive, and honestly too booked up. The Mallard, wrong look, too streamlined, too modern. Big express engines, too industrial, not magical enough. Then someone pointed to this, a Hall-class locomotive sitting in preservation. Number 5972, Olton Hall. Not the biggest, not the fastest, not the most powerful, but it had something none of the others did. Look at that copper chimney cap, those polished brass fittings, that deep Brunswick green paint with the orange and black lining. It looked like it belonged in a storybook. Classic British charm, Victorian elegance, pure magic. The Hall class also had perfect proportions. A 4-6-0 wheel arrangement. Not too big, not too small. It could fit through Britain's tight railway clearances, navigate sharp curves, and still look impressive on camera. So Warner Brothers made their choice. They repainted it bright crimson and gold. And just like that, Olton Hall became the Hogwarts Express. This single decision changed everything. Within months, this ordinary freight engine became a global icon. More recognizable than locomotives twice its size. More famous than machines that actually made history. More photographed than trains that hauled kings and queens. Railway enthusiasts stood there stunned. Museum curators couldn't believe it. This was a preservation success story unlike anything they'd ever seen. But here's the crazy part. This was never supposed to happen. Because 20 years earlier, this locomotive was almost melted down for scrap. Let's rewind. 1937, Swindon Works in Wiltshire, England. This is where Olton Hall was born. Locomotive number 5972. Part of the Great Western Railway's Hall class, a series of 4-6-0 mixed traffic engines designed by Charles Collett. Mixed traffic means it could haul both passengers and freight, heavy rural trains through the countryside, express services on the main line, coal trains, mail trains, whatever the railway needed. These weren't glamorous engines. They weren't record breakers. They were workhorses. Olton Hall spent its working life hauling trains across Western England. Oxley Depot, Cambridge Depot, Worcester. Day in, day out. Nothing special. Just reliable steam power doing what it was built to do. And for 26 years, that's exactly what it did, until everything changed. The 1960s. British Railways decided steam was finished. Diesel and electric traction was the future. And hundreds, literally hundreds, of steam locomotives were condemned to scrapyards. December 1963. Olton Hall was withdrawn from service. Its fires were dropped for the last time, and it was sent here. Bury Scrapyard, Wales. This place accidentally became the largest steam locomotive preservation site in Britain. Over 200 engines sat here, slowly rusting, waiting for either a buyer or the cutting torch. Most never made it out. But Olton Hall, it got lucky. After 18 years in the scrapyard, a group of preservationists bought Olton Hall and hauled it out. The rescue mission began. But restoring a steam locomotive from a scrapyard isn't like fixing a car. This is 70 tons of corroded metal, stripped components, and parts that literally don't exist anymore. Everything had to be rebuilt. New boiler tubes, overhauled cylinders, fabricated pipework, rebuilt motion gear, new bearings, replacement valves. Components were machined from scratch. Metal was welded, ground, fitted. Thousands of hours of work by volunteers and professional engineers. The old paint was stripped off. The body was primed, and then layer by layer, that iconic Brunswick green was reapplied. The orange and black lining, hand-painted by specialists. The brass fittings polished to a mirror shine. What rolled out of that workshop was basically factory fresh. Better than it had been in decades. And the timing? Perfect. The 1980s and 90s saw heritage railways exploding in popularity. Steam-hauled excursion trains were making a comeback. Olton Hall joined the circuit, West Coast railways, mainline charters, special events. It became part of Britain's preserved steam fleet, but it still wasn't famous. It was just another Hall-class engine among dozens of preserved locomotives. That was about to change. So let's go back to that question. When Warner Bros. Was looking for the Hogwarts Express, why this engine? They had specific requirements. It needed to look distinctly British, but also magical. Not too modern, not too industrial. Something with character and charm. They looked at LNER Pacifics. Too streamlined, too Art Deco. LMS designs, wrong feel. Southern Railway locomotives? Didn't quite fit. Tank engines? Too small, not impressive enough. And then there was the practical side. The Hall class has a 4-6-0 wheel arrangement. That's important because it means the locomotive is rigid-framed, but maneuverable. It can handle sharp curves. It fits through Britain's tight railway clearances. And visually, it's balanced. Not too long, not too short. The proportions just work. Plus, it had that great Western railway aesthetic. That's the secret ingredient. The copper chimney cap, the brass dome, the classic British elegance. It looked like it stepped out of the Victorian era, which is exactly the vibe Harry Potter needed. So they made their choice, and the rest is history. But here's what most people don't realize. Choosing a preserved steam locomotive for a major film franchise came with massive challenges. Film productions run on tight schedules. They don't care that your boiler needs an inspection. They don't care that a bearing is worn. The locomotive has to work. Every time. No excuses. Every valve, every bearing, every gasket, every seal, everything that could possibly fail was checked. The engine had to handle cold starts, slow run pass for filming, sitting stationary for hours while still producing photogenic smoke and steam. And here's the amazing part. This 1937 locomotive became more reliable than some modern trains. Why? Because British steam engineering is fundamentally simple. No electronics to glitch, no computers to crash. Olton Hall just worked. Every single time. November 2001. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone releases worldwide. It becomes one of the highest-grossing films of all time. And suddenly, Olton Hall isn't just a preserved steam engine anymore. It's a cultural phenomenon. Heritage railways that booked it saw attendance explode. Families that had never been to a steam event were showing up by the hundreds. Kids who'd never seen a steam locomotive were dragging their parents to railway events just to see this one. But fame comes with consequences. Running on Britain's mainline network is expensive. Boilers need constant inspection. Bearings wear out. Safety regulations are strict. Major overhauls became necessary. Months of downtime. Tens of thousands of pounds in costs. But every time it came back, the crowds returned. The hype never faded. Olton Hall became something unique. It's both a legitimate piece of railway history and a pop culture icon. Railway purists sometimes complain. A great Western engine painted in fictional colors, running in Scotland where it never historically operated. But here's the thing, it worked. Preservation groups found new audiences. Children discovered steam railways. A generation that might never have cared suddenly wanted to learn more. Olton Hall became a bridge between heritage and modern culture. Today, you can see it at the Warner Bros. Studio Tour in London, Platform 9 3/4, the actual locomotive from the films. In a time when steam locomotives are fading from everyday memory, Olton Hall proves that history can survive through preservation, through engineering, and through a bit of movie magic. From Swindon Works to the scrapyard, from the edge of destruction to the silver screen, from Locomotive 5972 to the most recognized train on the planet. Not bad for a mid-tier freight engine. So what do you think? Was Olton Hall destined for fame? Or was it just the right locomotive at the right time? Let me know in the comments. And if you could pick any preserved locomotive for the next big film franchise, which one would you choose and why? If you enjoyed this deep dive into how a scrapyard rescue became a global icon, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.